If you've been looking for a deal that can give you no less of 14%, my good friends, you have come to the right place, because today's deal, I'm going to be sharing with you a property opportunity that you can buy for yourself, and we have secured this property for you, and you can walk away with earning 14% on this deal, nothing less of 14% on this deal. So we're gonna jump into the deal and talk about it at length. But before we jump on to do that, it's a very small deal. It's a 2-bed 1-bath, so I do think that anybody is able to do it. TJ, can you get a deal, a 2-bed 1-bath, seriously, that can be cash flow positive? You pay off everything, rates and taxes, including levies. Is that true? Well, today I bring you that deal. So hang on whilst we go on all the way to the end of this video. But I just want to sensitize you. The property opportunities that I bring you today is a cash deal. Many of you have reached out to me. TJ, but I qualify for 1 million. The property is worth 200. So surely I can. If the seller says they want to go through a cash deal, there's a huge difference, my good friends, of a cash deal and when you're going to get a bond. And I thought, let me actually go through these differences in terms of, so that we can understand, because I don't think that a lot of us we get to understand why someone would just say, I just want a cash deal. There's many factors that we are going to talk about. But many of them, obviously there's pros and cons, but I just want you to see, and then obviously we can go into the deal. But before we go on, today is Wednesday. It is a Wednesday deal day. I bring you a deal, an opportunity that you can buy, and maybe, who knows, maybe you don't have the full amount of money. You can club up with someone else, or you can just buy it for yourself, right? If you got the mullah underneath the net mattress, or at one of the cool banks, FNB, Absa, Standard Bank, in no order, ne? I didn't say they are cool in that order. I'm just saying that these banks are available, and maybe you have saved up your money there, and you are now wanting to go and buy a property that's giving you a good return. 14%, it's a good return, I think. Do a comparison. Your money, where is it sitting right now? Let's assume that you got 500,000, and this 500,000, if it is sitting at one of these banks, is it hitting a 14%? But obviously, if you are going to be taking that money away from the bank and you're going to put it into this deal, you are going to do a little bit of work. All right. People say that in real estate it's a passive income, and I say no. There is graft to do. You do work in real estate. Obviously, you are going to reno the place. Yes, you're not the one who's going to do it, but you need to oversee it, right? So that's work. Obviously, you're going to get a tenant. Yes, I can manage the property for you, but we will ring you to say, approve this and this. So picking up the phone and talking is still doing some work. So it's passive compared to other things, right? So is it really passive? That's what we want to talk about at a later stage. I do think that it is not passive at all, but that's not today's video. Let's jump on to talk about why it should be a cash deal. So I'm going to jump in to talk about many factors. Factor number one that I'm going to talk to you about is that when you're doing a cash deal, there's an upfront cost. So you need all the money upfront. So obviously you need the cash, the transfer fees, maybe the reno, whatever it is. So you need the cash upfront fee. But as you are buying cash, you are literally paying off the price for the property all. And as opposed to, if you were to get a bank loan, then you might need a deposit, and you got the big brother that you're now going to be paying an interest on for 20 years, 30 years, 10 years. All right, so there's a difference there. But in terms of the transaction itself, the pros and cons are based on you, the buyer. Here, that's just factor number one. So factor number one is the upfront cost, right? Factor number two is that you're going to have monthly payments. If you're buying cash, you got zero payment bonds, zero. All the money that is being made on the property, it's coming to you. If you're buying with a bond, like what I do, because I don't have cash, definitely I need to consider the fact that I've got this 20 to 30-year-old bond that I'm going to be paying. Interest costs, right? That's another factor. Factor number 3, all right? The interest costs, because you're buying cash, I actually think that's the best idea. If you do have some cash, buy cash. And now, obviously, this property is now just appreciating, so you're making moolah on top of it. And you're also having what we call cash flow. So whatever return that you're going to be getting as per interest, you're in control of this asset. So you are having this interest being paid to you. There's no interest to the big brother, as opposed to the bank. When you are now working with the bank, obviously interest we have seen, right? In South Africa, I think the highest interest that we have had has been what, 20% back in the 90s, I think it was. But we haven't reached there, thank God. And those that are managing our monetary affairs, they've been, we've been playing around between the 10% within the recent times. So that's amazing, right? But it can go up, and it's unpredictable, and we need to weather for that storm. Now, what's more important for me based on this discussion, when people ask me the question, TJ, why does the seller wants this transaction to be a cash deal? Like today's deal, it's a cash deal. Why do they want this? So the next factor is the approval process. When you're buying a property cash, you are the approval process. What you say goes. If you are having a bank, which means that, wait, I want to just zone in here. There's two people here, the buyer and the seller. If you put in an offer, so you have already approved yourself that you're good with the money, and you send the email to us and say you're good with it and we offer to purchase is done, that's day number 1. We will send the same to the seller, and the seller in the same day, because we have already agreed prices on their behalf, we've negotiated on your behalf, they will then say, okay, yeah, TJ. So which means that in the same day, the approval process is done. Less than 12 hours, approval process done. Let's look at the bank, right? At the bank, number 1, what's going to happen? This is the approval process. The bank might take anything between 2 weeks to 6 weeks. But TJ, my bond originator says 3 days. Sharp, right? Again, it beats 12 hours, 3 days. Maybe you're like 3 days, but that's less. Days. 12 hours, 72 hours. You got it, ne? All right, sharp. Now, if anything happens there, the 6 weeks is going to apply. So which means that the seller is not willing to wait for the 6 weeks. They don't want that. And that's why you would see this. And this is one of the key components where lots of people that sell properties would say, I want to sell my property cash. The next point is around the credit check. When you're buying property cash, there is no big brother who's going to check to say, what's your credit scoring like? All that they're going to do is you are going to say we're good for the money, and the attorney is going to call for the money in 2 days' time. You provide that money, whether it's a guarantee or you send that money, done, right? However, if we are now talking about the bank, now they're going to do a credit check on you. They're going to do an affordability check. Obviously, that all falls within this approval process that we spoke about within the 2 weeks to 6 weeks, right? It's average. It doesn't mean that everybody. Some deals I've seen, some deals they've moved a bit faster than this. But I'm just saying that, can you see the complexity between buying cash and buying with the bank, right? We're not done. We're not done. I'll tell you some more. Right. The loan risk. It's another factor. No debt. Obviously, you're buying cash. On the other side, because you're buying with a bond, obviously there's the risk of either being repossessed tomorrow. Here, my good friends, I tell you everything. I tell you it's good to buy real estate using debt, right? Because I'm doing it, you see me doing it. But there's also another risk, and the risk of being repossessed. It's a reality, right? I buy many properties that are being repossessed. But am I immune to it? No, I'm not. But what do I need to do? I need to understand how to mitigate for that problem. If there's a problem for non-payment and so on, I've worked at the bank before. I'm an ex-banker. I know the process. So for that reason, I can go and speak to the bank. The bank is willing to speak to you all the times to make different arrangements and so on. When you're being repossessed, it means that someone has not been talking to the other parties. The banks are always willing to talk. But anyway, the golden factor. We've been talking about all these other factors that we spoke about: the credit check, the approval, the total cost, the interest cost. The golden one for me, for why someone else would actually just say they are wanting to sell their property cash. Remember, I want to speak to you about a deal here that is going to be a cash deal. And many of you have been asking the question, TJ, why do we have to do cash? Can we not, we qualify for X amount of money? The transferring time factor. Oh, my good friends, it's a huge factor. Now, what happens? If you go cash, the offer to purchase is gone in under 12 hours. The next day, that same offer to purchase, it's sitting at partaker's office, the attorney that we use, or any other attorney for that matter. The seller will choose who the attorney is. If they are a sharp attorney, the next day, which is day number 3, they already contact you and say, hey, send us the money, send us the figure documents. And in 3 to 4 days, they can already prepare for you to come and sign. In the next 4 weeks, the property can be lodged. Now let's look at the same transfer time now using a bond. It's a little bit of a slower process. That typically is anything between 8 weeks to 12 weeks. And more importantly is, or should I say to add on sauce to it, when you're doing a transfer using cash, there's only one attorney that you're dealing with. So you can literally go to that attorney, finish and clear, you're done with everything. When you are now working with a bond, there's 2 attorneys from 2 different offices. You need to speak to them, the seller needs to speak to them, they need to speak to you. So a lot of things I've just seen gets lost in translation, and sometimes you send out a document, they didn't see it. Sometimes you send a Google link, no, they cannot open Google links. It's just life, right? So 8 to 12 weeks eventually. In our office, we have actually employed a person who chases documentations with the attorneys. Imagine that. Because we just want our transactions to smoothen off. So the bond approval and the registration, my good friends, it can take anything from 8 weeks to 12 weeks. But if I'm smoking something here, in the comments, let me know. We thrive, this channel here thrives on the fact that you, our good friends, you can also comment on some of these things that I speak about, because I see you doing deals, right? I see you doing deals. So you can add in your 2 cents, right? Over and above that, I'm left with about 3 other factors that I want to speak to around why someone else would say they want to a cash buyer for their property. Ownership duration. Now, once you go through into, that's another factor, ownership duration. Now that you have gone into the attorney and literally in a week, they'll do what is called lodging. Lodging, bingo, it registers. Done. Finish and clear. Right? Now, when it comes to where you now have the bank involved, you only own after your repayment of the entire bond, which I think all of us we know, which is 20 years to 30 years from now, right? That's a no-brainer. But another factor that I then want to conclude is the fact of the investment opportunity. Obviously, when you're buying cash, for you, from your perspective, the money is locked in the property. But when you're obviously buying with the debt, you can invest the excess cash elsewhere, which means that if this property was going to be 500,000, you can put in maybe 50,000 for transfers only, and you get the rest as debt. but the other 450 you can go into property number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, which is something that I do. I use very little money of my own money, and I try to utilize the bank's money, and obviously there is risk in that, but you need to be able to manage the bank yourself. Now, the biggest one which favors you when we are buying properties cash, because of the short time to close the deal, because of all the other reasons, other factors that we spoke about earlier on, right? Here is something that a lot of people don't understand: the price negotiation. Did you hear that, bro? Price negotiation. Do you know what that means? If you go cash, right, and you are now negotiating a deal, yeah, like what we do on your behalf, we are basically now saying to this person, our client has cash, so the deal can go faster, and they will accept the cash offers that we talk about. Do you see that? That doesn't make sense. Okay, sure. Right. Now that we've got that, this, if you understand this, a cash offer can swing so many different ways, right? It's cash offer has a strong bargaining power with sellers, right? Well, will the person accept? They might say no. We assess at average 10 deals in a week, sometimes even 20 in a week, right? We approach them with cash offers. Sometimes they say no, right? But we always find something. I'm always here giving you a deal every Wednesday at the top of the hour, 7 p.m. I'm here sharing with you some good deals. So which means that these deals are available, right? Now, the closing time. There's another factor. This is the last factor, and then we jump onto the deal. I know you've been waiting for the deal. Like, yo, TJ. But there's some good nuggets, eh? What do you think? Tell me in the comments, TJ. Please don't talk about these things. Just give us the deal. Or TJ, we appreciate this. And keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Keep preaching, TJ. Keep preaching. That's what I want to hear, right? Let me know in the comments what's your view. Lastly, the closing time frame. Obviously, we can see that, right? We have seen this here now. With a cash, it's faster. With a bond, it's a bit slower. So, is it better to use buy cash, or is it better to buy bond? It depends on where you are in life, right? Depends on where you are in life. There's no good answer. There's no right or wrong. Obviously, if you can club up with a bit of cash here and there, you and the wife, you and your brother, and now you've got X amount of money, and you can move faster. You can move deals faster, right? And then maybe this is what I generally say to lots of people. I use this tactic lots of times. Buy cash, right? Then soon after that, now you're in control of the property. Ne? It belongs to you. Now you can go to ABSA, FNB, Standard Bank, Capitec, SA Home Loans, Itala, all these other home loans offering places. And now you say to them, hey, I'm already making X amount of money. Can I finance my property? That process works like a charm. You are not in the face of the seller. You have negotiated some good terms, you bought it cash, and now you're just financing to release your money, and you can then put debt, whatever it's going to be. So anyways, let's go on to the next deal. I was just teaching today. I thought, let me share with you guys some good nuggets around teaching, and I hope you have enjoyed it. Did you? Yeah. Tell me in the comments if you enjoyed that. Right. Okay, we're going to go on today's deal. Let's jump on to mantra. My heart is open. My mind is open. Help me, TJ, to make some moolah. You already know the mantra by now. Today's deal, it is a 300,000. This deal first came through to us in 2022, I think it was. Woo, TJ. This is 2025. Yes, my good friend, some deals just take that long. Or should I say, I've been in the game for that long. Right. 2022, that still came by. Somebody tried to buy it. They put in an offer, and that person, I don't know what happened. They ended up being an estate, so I don't know whether it was them or the partner who died. And an executor then said no, they want the refund. The refund was sent back to them. So the seller was left in limbo. Again in 2023, they got another buyer, and the buyer put in a bond and got retrenched. And somewhere along the line, they tried to make a plan with the retrenchment money. Oh, the bottom line is that the property hasn't sold. The property hasn't sold. Where is the property? It is in a small little neighborhood called Croydon. Croydon? I know it's in Kempton Park. Somewhere in Kempton Park, it's a 2-bed, 1-bath. This property value is sitting, I'm going to tell you now. We did a search for it, and we got a report, and this report tells us the value of the property. The place is called Croydon. Like crocodile, Croydon, right? That's the suburb name. It is in Ekurhuleni, one of my favorite places, provinces, municipality, if you may call them that. The property, this owner of this property actually bought this property. It was in, what year was this? 2017, I think it was. They bought the property for 480. It is a 69 square, so it's a sizable unit, and it's in a complex, and I'll show you some pictures now. It's one of the units within the complex, and the value on the property is sitting at 520,000. This was based on the period of the 2022, which means that 2021-2022 municipality valuation, which means that it has also grown, but I haven't done a latest evaluation. Then there's what they call an automated evaluation, which the private companies go on to do, because the municipality kind of like evaluates once in 5 years, that kind of thing. The highest that is expected here is 590,000 at a low of 480,000. Which gives us an expected 500. So its valuation, true valuation, is today is sitting on 500,000. The guy here, he is fairly old. He wants to sell. He's owned this property for the last couple of years, 5-6 years or so, and he is keen on selling. How much, TJ? How much? Tell us, TJ. He's happy to pay. He's happy to receive 300,000 onto the property. So if you have to sell it for 500, or should I say, if you have to put it on your books for 500, it basically means that you've bought 200 equity from just buying this property. You will need transfer fees and transfer fees and so on. At around about 10,000 on a property like this one, at max 15,000, depending on the attorney that you're going to be using. 315,000 is what you're going to need. 300 for the buying of the purchase, 15,000 worst case scenario for the transfer on this property, but I think you can get it for less. And it basically now means that you are all in for 315 on this deal. There is a tenant who is paying rent. There's two of them. The one tenant is renting the one room, and the other one is renting the other room. They stay together. They work down the road at the airport. Collectively, they're paying 5,500, and there's rates and taxes for 850 on the property, levies for 1,000 rand. and you'll be banking around about 3,650,000 on this property if you decide to buy cash. TJ, if I decide to buy it with a bond, well, do the maths, my friends. Here we also want to teach you how to do things by yourself. And I want to say, my good friends, I apologize for today's video. It was a little bit longish with the training that I slotted in on the difference of buying a property cash. What is the difference, TJ, of buying property cash? So when this person is saying they are ready to sell, they are ready to sell now. So in the next 2 weeks, they want this property gone. So if you got your cash 300 and let's call it 320, and you're good for the deal, hit us up and we will facilitate the rest for you. It's a deal that is available. You can buy for yourself, and maybe you can buy it with a brother, with a sister, with a mommy, whatever the case is. We don't judge here. Whatever you do is cool with us, for as long we are talking to the one person who can be able to navigate all the paperwork. So until we see each other again, I think, do you now understand why it's important to buy a property cash? Or do you see the benefits thereof? Or do you see the pros and cons of it? So some of these things you might have not thought about them, but I decided today, let me share with them. There is benefits in buying a property cash. So my friends, until we meet again here at the TJ Tribe on the next video, peace out. God bless.